you go now?
I can go now, yeah.
Yeah. High.
Hello everybody, my name is Brian Snyder and this is my presentation. It's on post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a very difficult time finding a decent study. I was looking everywhere, and every time at the end it was like, this one is not applicable, or it's not going to be any good, and like, this sucks. Then I finally found this really incredible study on post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a randomized controlled pilot trial. And it was done in 2007 at the University of New Mexico. And the purpose of this study was to evaluate the potential efficacy and acceptability of acupuncture for PTSD. People diagnosed with what's called DSM-4-TR PTSD were randomized to either an empirically developed acupuncture treatment, group cognitive behavioral therapy, or a waitlist control. And so there are 3 groups of 30 people that did each of these. So 30 people in acupuncture, 30 CBT, and 30 in the waitlist control. The primary outcome measure was self-reported post-traumatic stress symptoms at baseline, end treatment, and 3-month follow-up. So the DSM-4 TR PTSD diagnostic criteria is basically like if somebody experienced like a really traumatic, almost near death or threat to severe bodily injury experience. And it actually goes on and has a ton of different criteria that you have to meet to beat DSM-4. So these people met that criteria. And it says repeated measures, MANOVA, multivariate analysis of variance used to analyze whether changes in the independent variable had changes on the dependent variables, was used to predict group X time effects in both intent to treat and treatment completion models. I have no idea what that means. I tried to figure it out. Compared with the waitlist control condition in the intent to treat model, acupuncture provided large treatment effects for post-traumatic stress disorder, p-value of less than 0.01. Similar in magnitude to the group cognitive behavioral therapy of less than 0.01. Symptom reductions at end treatment were maintained at a 3-month follow-up for both interventions. Acupuncture may be an efficacious and acceptable non-exposure treatment option for PTSD, is their conclusion. So the individual acupuncture sessions were conducted twice a week for 1 hour, and the group cognitive behavioral therapy was once a week for 2 hours. The acupuncturist used, let's see what he used, a combination of any of the following points, which were yin tone, stomach 36, spleen 6, heart 7, pericardium 6, liver 2, liver 3, liver 8, liver 13, liver 14. So a lot of these liver points, phlegm points, dampness points, heart points, kidney 6 or 7, pericardium back shoe, heart back shoe, liver, spleen, stomach, kidney, and do 4 and do 14. So both interventions consisted of over 24 hours of therapy over 12 weeks. Let's see, with at least 15 minutes of a homework assignment, home-based therapy. At the 3-month follow-up, maintenance of treatment effects was assessed. The waitlist participants were in contact with the study team only at assessment periods unless an acute symptom required evaluation. And they were provided either a study treatment by the investigators or were given referrals. So, So the change in post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms on the PTSD scale self-report, which was what was the primary outcome measure. So the PSSSR has 17 items that comprise the DSM-4-TR post-traumatic stress disorder diagnostic criteria. Severity of experiencing each symptom over the past 2 weeks is rated from 0, not at all, to 3, very much. And the total severity score is the sum of all items. Scores below 11 are considered mild PTSD, and above 20 are severe, with 36 being the worst score at the end of the trial, 0 being the best score. The study screening score of greater than or equal to 16 is in the upper moderate range. So let's see here. They use the Hopkins Symptom Checklist 25 to assess symptoms of anxiety and depression. So they also use the Sheehan Disability Inventory, used extensively in research. It has 3 10-point rating scales that assess impairments in the area of work, social, home, family life, and the 5-point global rating scale. Participant satisfaction for those randomized to acupuncture and CBT was assessed at the end treatment using the 10-item rating scale and all of that stuff. So if you look at my PowerPoint presentation, you can see that the results were 63%, 15 of the 24 people in the acupuncture group, 36% in the cognitive behavioral therapy group, and 17% in the waitlist control group had PSS-SR scores below the entry criterion level of greater than or equal to 16 at the end of each treatment. So at the 3-month follow-up, 63% in the acupuncture group were below the entry criteria score of greater than 16, whereas 52% in the cognitive behavioral therapy group were below the entry criterion. And so it showed, the acupuncture group showed a slightly longer retainment of positive effects in the cognitive behavioral group. So the benefits of acupuncture and cognitive behavioral therapy are clearly proven in this study. Acupuncture is likely to be efficacious for reducing symptoms of PTSD, depression, anxiety, and impairment of people diagnosed with DSM-4 PTSD. There are no risks associated with CBT. Waitlisted people are at risk for developing worsening symptoms and putting off their recovery. The only risk associated with acupuncture, potentially puncturing the liver, deep needle insertion, which is minimal risk. The cost of acupuncture is slightly less than cognitive behavioral therapy and much less than prescription drugs. The acupuncturist was relatively experienced, 4 years out of school. The CBT's experience was not discussed, but it was most likely a registered therapist. Contraindications are low. The patient found both acupuncture and cognitive behavioral therapy to be highly acceptable and were satisfied with both. They're both highly feasible. Acupuncture is a cost-effective treatment, but it's highly accessible. And cognitive therapy, while highly accessible, is less cost-effective. So personally, I would recommend, even though this was a pilot study, a randomized controlled pilot trial, and they say that they need to do a more extensive, larger trial with additional controls, I would recommend that practitioners treat for PTSD using any of those above points, and also educate the client on some Qigong exercises to calm the spirit, such as Master Lee's Awakening the Soul. This in combination with cognitive behavioral therapy would be ideal. And it was funded by the University of New Mexico, but they had no say in what was happening. Yeah. And other than that, I have more information about left in the press room. So does anybody have any questions?
Okay, so I have a couple. One is, I just want to make sure I'm clear on. So under the results section, at the end of the treatment, we had 63, 36, and 17%, and 3 months later, we had 63, 52, and unknown percent.
Right. I'm looking at that myself. I was like, so I'm just thinking that the cognitive behavioral therapy group kept going to their therapy and maybe increased their percentage.
Oh, so you're assuming that the study, that the CBT continued and that they didn't just get better over time as the event got further in the time?
Yeah, that's an assumption though, yeah. That's all that I gathered from it. It doesn't make much sense, you're right.
It's interesting though that the acupuncture group didn't continue to increase, whereas the CBT group did.
Yeah, if that's exactly what happened.
And I have another question that's probably for Dr. Connors, as it involves this quirky little math business. So we mentioned that both the acupuncture and the CBT group have results that where the p-value is less than 0.01.